We're told by police officers that a special police officer, that's an officer that's separate from Baltimore City Police, witnessed a drug deal happening right outside of the clinic. He went to address the situation, and that's when things went south. Well, in a tweet on Thursday night, Ben Jealous said that he wants to legalize, regulate, and tax marijuana for adult use and use that revenue for universal pre-K. So this is history, Shelley. It's a national talker. Some people have never heard of UMBC. Now everybody has heard of the Cinderella story. Jennifer Kai, we're here at Columbus Gardens. Big crowd out here. Look how many friends Al has with him today. Thanks so much for being with us. The Madras Maiden is one of only 12 B-17s that still flies today. Now, first I want to point to this tree stump you're seeing there. This is where crews were cutting down trees earlier that had fallen down onto this playground. That case was originally processed in the adult court, but was later dismissed and transferred to the juvenile system. Now, this same kid is being charged with murder for committing a heinous act of violence right here in this very apartment building behind me. Obviously, yesterday's events were horrible, but they could have been even worse. I want to show you these houses to my right here. Look at where these houses are, and then look what they sit next to. Just 2 months after the devastating floods here in Ellicott City, business and property owners are still feeling the impact. Well, it was an emotional reunion between a mother and her young son here at BWI Airport. Both of them still had tears in their eyes after nearly a month of separation. While they have a long legal battle ahead of them, Beata Mejia's message is clear: I will never be separated from my son again. 1 month after being away from her son, Beata Mejia says her first words to her 7-year-old boy, Darwin, were, "Mom loves you." Look at his little face. He's sad, but we're going to be together. No one will separate us. Mejia says she and her son came to Arizona from Guatemala seeking asylum after getting threats from Darwin's father. But they didn't go through a proper border crossing station, so she was detained and he was taken away from her. I don't regret it. I'm proud to be in this country. Mejia says she didn't know where her son was. She was only allowed to speak to him twice over the phone. Earlier this week, she filed suit against the Trump administration. Soon after, the administration rolled back its policy, allowing this reunion to happen. To the other mothers who have had their children separated from them, Mejia says, they can fight, same as me. They have to get out there and stand up for their kids. You have to win the battle. Well, Beata and Darwin will be staying with a family friend in Texas while they wait for their asylum case to unfold. At BWI Airport, Kelly Andersen, Fox 45 News. They started playing this game after Freddie Gray, but with the recent killing of Detective Sean Suter, both sides agree this event is as necessary as ever.
You know they can't keep up with you. We outrun these bastards every day.
On the streets, it's frowned upon.
Yo, I got a bunch of ringers this year.
But on the field, it's talent.
We have a much stronger game than the police. You know what I'm saying? So we tend to use that to our advantage.
The police team holds out hope.
BPD 28, community 21.
2 different shirts.
Oh yeah, shake up.
But really, they're on the same team.
The mentality is almost the same. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to take care of me and mine.
The whole thing with public safety and police-community relationships, it's always about, knowing each other when we're not in crisis.
This game was started to build bridges after Freddie Gray.
And at the time, it was cathartic for us to find a different way to take, whatever frustrations we had out somewhere in a way that was not necessarily harmful.
While that wound still heals, a new one is opened. The killing of Detective Sean Suter.
Now imagine, you probably got a lot of frustrated cops riding around in their cars thinking somebody done did something to one of their own. And this may be cathartic for them, so, same knife, cut both ways, right?
Well, I've spoken to a number of these guys this morning about Detective Suter's murder. They're familiar with it. They saw our press conference yesterday. They talked to me about how they felt about it. And I think a couple of years ago, these guys never would have approached me and even engaged me in that type of conversation.
Both sides have lost teammates, friends. What once divided them now unites them.
Oh, you got that battle!
Today, it's friendly competition.
You know the deal already.
And a little celebration.
All of y'all still at work.
And while the run-ins may continue after the game ends, today, both sides claim a victory. In West Baltimore, Kelly Andersen, Fox 45 News. This particular incident doesn't involve around Allers. It actually revolves around Wayne Jenkins, the man who became sergeant of the force after Allers. Members of the force have admitted guilt in all kinds of heinous crimes, planting evidence, forging their time cards, stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash and drugs, reselling those drugs. The breadth of the harm that they've caused to people on the street is still being investigated. But perhaps the worst damage is the one that cost an innocent man his life.
This picture is a picture of all of our family here together at my sister's Mary's wedding.
6 siblings reminiscing on the good times,
Mostly temptations. He was crazy about the temptations.
remembering what was.
And this is my dad that lost his life in a fatal car crash. This is in memory of him.
Ruminating on what could have been.
I miss my dad every day. And it's so hard knowing that when he left me, I was supposed to see him later that night when I got off of work. But that was the last kiss I got from my dad, was that day.
April 28th, 2010. It's been 8 years.
It brings back the same day when it all happened. It comes right back to me. I'm staying over there crying, telling them to get my parents to the hospital.
This is the result of a police chase where officers chased down 2 men, Umar Burley and Brent Matthews.
The car wasn't even on the street no more. The car was inside the steps.
This is the car Dolores Davis's parents were riding in minutes after leaving her home. It was hit by Burley as police chased him and Matthews down several blocks in Gwynn Oak.
When I got here, they was over in front of this people's house. The police car was there. Mr. Burley car was parked there.
That day, police explained to Fox 45 what triggered the events that ultimately led to Albert Davis Sr.'s death and left his wife seriously injured.
The officers observed a suspect vehicle in a possible drug transaction. As they attempted to approach this car, fled off at a high rate of speed.
They were going so fast, they hit that car broadside and knocked it into my yard. They had to be going fast as can be.
It ended with Burley and Matthews in custody.
We were able to get 38 grams of heroin from the vehicle.
Drug charges for both men, manslaughter for Burley. Meanwhile, Dolores Davis was left a prisoner of her memories.
My father was in so much pain, and so was my mother. But she had blood on her hands where she was keeping the blood from going in his eyes.
8 years later, the pain lingers. Albert is still gone, and the subjects of their anger have multiplied. The drugs found in Umar Burley's car were planted by Officer Wayne Jenkins and another officer after the accident. Jenkins would eventually be convicted for using his role in the gun trace task force to sneak up on suspects, rob them, and cover their tracks.
The everyday practice of door popping and some of the other practices that have been revealed were endangering lives, and in this case, resulted in the death of Mr. Davis.
Burley's lawyer says there was never a reason for the initial stop. There was no drug deal.
They were sitting on the side of the road, and 2 cars with men in masks and guns came out to literally rob them. That was the testimony. Black clothes, black masks, guns drawn to rob them. Any person in that situation would have took off.
I think that they all are dirty, corrupt criminals. I don't trust the police department. I don't trust the police.
Burley spent more than 7 years in prison. Matthews spent 2.5 years. Both have since been released and had their charges removed. Burley's manslaughter charges were removed in April. The Davis family is not ready to forgive Burley.
He didn't feel no sympathy. When he was in court, he said, well, my parents was taken from me too. And that's what he said. So he can keep his sorry for me. He can keep his sorry. I don't need it.
They say he shares the blame with police.
Burley struck my father, called killing my father. The crooked task force chased him for him to do that. And Burley walks away, the police go to jail, but my father's dead.
What seemed like a story of a drug deal gone awry has evolved into a story of the collateral damage of corruption.
Leave him under the jail. He had the authority to do all the stuff that he did, not only him and any of the other crooked task force, and they unleashed them on Baltimore citizens. Yeah, he needs to stay where he at.
The initial blame is up for debate. But there's no question about who lost the most. A man who could still be alive today with his wife and his kids.
If they want to give justice to everybody else, please give justice for my dad. He had nothing to do with what they was doing that day. They need to give him some justice.
Well, there are several legal battles coming down the line. The Davis family, Umar Burley, and Brent Matthews will all be filing suit against the Baltimore City Police Department. The Davis family is still hoping to collect on a civil suit that they previously filed against Burley. In the studio, Kelly Andersen, Fox 45 News.